two, two. a soccer field. You the new chairman, did I hear that?
License Commissioners, Wednesday, July 19th, 2023 at 7:32. First up is the acceptance of the previous minutes. Acceptance of the minutes of the special meeting of June 21st, 2023. Have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Shaw, second by Commissioner Kinch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 7-0. Next up is old business, a show cause hearing. And Vice Chair McGill will be taking over for this hearing while I recuse myself for this matter.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a show cause hearing. It's an appearance by Club Juventus Lusitania Incorporated, doing business as Club Juventus Lusitania. 10 Chase Street, show cause hearing related to incidents occurring on October 22nd, 22 for potential action. It's a 6-month review. It was tabled back in June 21st of 2023. Chief, did you have anything on this? I guess there's some type of agreement that has come between the town and the club, correct?
Yes, sir. And just reviewing the email, we had a very productive meeting. The club has been excellent to work with on that fact. There was an updated security plan provided by the club that was approved. There was an amended condition relative to 4-hour minimums that we discussed and was approved and agreed upon. There was a condition relative to private security and their take on that, which we came to a conclusion to. So ultimately, we did come to an agreement. The rest of the conditions outside of those would be continued through the end of the license. The discussion revolved around the short window of those 6 months, being able to truly evaluate, did the security plan, everything, did it help when it's a quiet season? So other than these updated amendments, everything else was continued forward, and they agreed to that.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
And the public hearing is opened at 7:33 p.m. Is there anybody else in chambers that would like to speak on the matter?
Can I ask you?
Yeah. Councilman Bradley.
Chief,
Sir?
so did we have any arrests down there in the last 6 months?
Not one. Not one.
And has the amount of potties stayed the same, or has it dropped off?
Yeah, so that's where that's where the extra, or not extra, but the continuance of the other conditions remained intact, because when those conditions were put in place, you're essentially hitting January, February, March. So I didn't want inappropriate or non-reflective data to say that, oh, we've had no problems and it's working. I wanted to get through the summer months and some of the other parties that they generally have to see if it's actually working. So, and they agreed with that concept as well.
So hearing from a few of the club members, Chief, they said it's put a financial burden on the club.
Yeah, that's what they claim. Yes.
What are we charging them an hour for a detail?
I'd have to go back to the notes. So there's a 4-hour minimum, and then part of the union contract was that it triggers that to 8 hours. So that was part of their question, was a lot of the details were 6 hours, which was causing an 8-hour payment to be made. So we agreed to go to just strictly a 4-hour detail for now, and see how that worked out.
But the rate per hour that they're paying?
It depends, because if there's a cruiser, there's I think a $20 fee, there's administrative costs, so you can ballpark it at $75-80 an hour to include all of that, not just the officer's pay, but the cruiser fee and the administrative fee.
Okay, and that's by contract?
Yeah, it's based on the officer's overtime rate, yes. And then there's a policy on it as well that coincides.
And this is the fee that everybody pays that calls for a detail?
Correct.
All the clubs and everything are the same?
This is the only one that we really have that we would have this kind of plan in place right now. But any event, any of the feasts, any of the, the Cumberland Fest, anything like that, it's the same format, no difference for them. What was agreed upon was that during those original conditions was that they needed to have a detail the entirety of the event. But if the event's only 6 hours, they were getting billed at 8 because that's what the rules are. So they wanted some relief in just requiring a 4-hour detail, so I conceded to that to see if it would work and if we can maintain that, because they're also investing in private security now, which they hadn't done in the past. So my hope is that the private security will give them that buffer for the first few hours, and then we can come in for the last 4 and be a normal security function.
So when we do Lady of Fatima Feast, they pay the same rate?
Yes, everybody pays the same rate. There's no difference to anything. It was more that condition required a detail for the entirety of the event as opposed to just, say, the last 4 hours. And that's what the relief they were requesting.
Because what I've been hearing, Chief, is that they're paying $81 an hour.
That could be right. I'm just ballparking. I'm not
But
positive.
then I'm hearing other clubs or feasts are paying 50.
Not that I'm not aware of any. There is no difference in detail rates. Again, if another event is not requiring a cruiser, then maybe that's the $20 difference in between. But there's no, the detail rate is a detail rate is a detail rate, no matter if it's a road job, a football game, football game, you name it. It's the same. It's just a matter of what's there, if there's a cruiser or not.
Speaking of the football game, I guess we had an incident at a soccer game that I think was in town.
We did not. The soccer game was out of town.
It was out of town?
Yes, sir. It was a Cumberland resident, but the game was not.
Not
the
in
incident
town?
did not happen in town. No, sir.
But if it came to that, would that be something that's going to be put on them as well?
I'm not following your question.
If we had incidents like that at soccer games, that would be something that we'd institute as well on them, or is it just because of the alcohol?
So
The details.
my understanding, that event was an in-game conduct that could be construed as criminal without me knowing too many of the details.
Yeah.
So I would say that by itself, that wouldn't necessarily trigger. First of all, there's no licensing to that I'm aware of, and I'm not aware that it would trigger necessarily a detail because of that. But certainly, if that happened in town and we had criminal charges we had to pursue, then we would act
Pursue
accordingly.
that.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
I would say yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief?
Do we have anybody from the club, or?
I asked if there's anybody, is there someone from the club? Come on up.
State their name and address.
Antonio Costa, 18 Plantation Drive.
Vanessa Mendes, 290 John Reza Drive.
Just to give us a little background on the club, can you tell us what the name means for those that don't speak Portuguese?
It's pretty much the same as Boys and Girls Club. The name Juventude means youth, so involves both sex. So the club was created for the youth of Portuguese descent. That's what Lusitania means.
So are you in agreement with the chief's new?
Yeah, the club is pretty much
Happy with
in
that?
agreement to, we been meeting, and I mean, the relationship is there like what it has been in the past. It was just a little blip in the road, and we got stopped by Officer Kinch on the highway, when he was a police officer, and then he told us, go slow, so that's the way but the relationship is there again, so.
So I had club members coming up to me telling me it put a financial strain on the club. Did it?
I can answer to that. Yeah, it did cause a huge strain. As you know, prior to the incident of October, we've had police detail, probably more than most organizations in the town. So also with the impact of COVID and the pandemic, it's had a big hit just in revenue. So to add that unexpected expense, it has been a financial strain.
Okay. And I don't know, can we talk about the incident at all or ask any questions on that?
You can.
Can or
You
can't?
can. You can.
So just one question, and I keep hearing it from different club members. Did the incident start in the club or outside of the club?
As far as we've been informed, it did not start inside the club. But I could be wrong.
Okay.
That's just based on what I've been told.
That's what I've been hearing as well, but, I mean, I don't think, is there a definitive answer on that, Chief, or?
The incident itself was on club property and also off club property, but the parties involved were in the club on both sides, yes.
On both sides?
But to say that it actually happened in the club is not accurate. It was outside the club, on club property, but also on the roadway as well.
And that's where it started. It didn't start in the club, but it finished in the club.
It depends on your definition of start. The actual criminal conduct was more outside than in, but I would say that an interaction occurred inside, but not what translated to ultimately the conditions. Bless you.
So it started outside and then moved inside? Fair assessment?
Again, the interaction between the involved participants were inside, but the actual incident itself occurred outside. There were other
Contributing factors?
contributing factors, a good way to put it, context, that was inside the club, but the actual incident itself took place outside the club.
And it was a baby shower, correct?
I believe so, yeah, baby shower, yeah.
And to the members of the club, do you have a lot of baby showers going on down there? Do you?
Average, I wouldn't say it would, I'd say it's a minority, not a majority of the volume.
And was it a club member that rented it?
No, it was not.
So have you made a distinction between club members and non-club members?
We have.
And Chief, have you worked with them on that?
We have. We've had conversations about that. It becomes a very dicey area as far as who the renter is, because somebody who's a club member could rent it, but that doesn't mean guests or attendees necessarily are members either. So I think we had some good discussions on that. I understand their position that certain functions, certain dinners and things of that nature, again, we're trying to work with them. I have no interest in seeing their venue close or anything like that. We're trying to get to the best solution for everybody, but that also has to account for public safety. There's no two ways about that. So I think we have a great partnership. We had some great meetings, great dialogue, and I think we came to a great resolution.
So you've got a distinction between club members and I'm just asking, in their rules, have they made it where it's a club member for 5 years or?
So I have not made a distinction of member versus non-member. I think what we've come to the agreement is the event itself and what that portrays. So again, if there's I think there's like a director's dinner or something of that nature, the possibility or the probability of some sort of adverse action is lower than, you know, another event where there's alcohol and music and it ends at midnight or something. So I think we're trying to better define those things, but I think it's not prudent to just say because you're a member that it doesn't matter, or if you're not a member it doesn't matter, or it does. I don't think that that's a good metric, but.
Well, I would think if it's a club member, they could kick them out of the club, that type of stuff. And
You'd hope so,
obviously,
but-
if it's not a club member, they don't know the person as well or on that sense.
There's always potential, so yeah, I mean, either which way, it could be potential. Just because they're a member or not a member doesn't necessarily mean they would kick somebody out that's a family member or not, so I don't, yeah.
Yeah, they could still know a member and take it from that way.
Sure.
Okay.
I just want to clarify something. The incident started over here on Broad Street, first time. An hour later, that's when it happened at the club. So that's part of the record, so I just wanted to
Is that-
clarify that.
Would that be accurate, Chief?
Again, it's all a matter of how you define the start of the incident. The parties involved were all inside the club at one point or another. The actual incident itself occurred outside. Partially was on the roadway, as I mentioned. The larger component of it was in their parking lot. Yes,
The parking lot at the club
correct.
or the parking lot across the street?
I think they own both of them. They
Yeah,
own this
but-
one here across the street, but they also own the one that's directly adjacent to the building. And both were involved at different
Both
points.
parking lots?
Correct.
Okay.
All set? Any other questions for either the chief or the representatives from the club? Is there any, thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers that would like to speak during the public hearing? All right, hearing none. Is there a need to consider the matter resolved at this point, or, I mean, yeah, do we need to vote on it? Is it resolved as is, or?
So if there's not a need for another review date in the opinion of the chief, I think you could just vote to accept the resolution that was agreed upon between the police department and the licensee.
Okay, so, chief?
If I may, I believe I forwarded that to Kelly. We can send that over if there needs to be an official record as to the email chain that Vanessa and I had that outlined those things that we discussed tonight, if you need that for the record.
So we would need that to read into the record then?
That doesn't need to be read into the record. We can just, you can provide it as backup as the details, but the vote could just be to accept the agreement that was reached between the police department and the licensee.
Okay.
Just one more question. Chief, and we're going to review it again in 6 months?
So what we had discussed was they're up for their license each year anyways, so certain components would be continued, but the ones that I mentioned before were adjustments that we made and we agreed upon, inclusive of their updated security plan. So the other conditions which they agreed to would continue through the rest of the year just to see how it works and if it's actually working. And then at the formal annual license renewal, they could be lifted.
Make adjustments then?
Sure.
Okay.
Councilman Shaw.
Thank you. Question on that. We could, if we vote tonight on the agreement that was made, is there a way that if Kelly needs to modify the original resolution or whatever it was that we voted on based on any new changes or whatever, I want to make sure that we see that that document gets entered to the record, where if years later down the road, the email chain, it never got there, we don't have it in front of, you know what I mean? I just want to make sure that that we see that document. So I'm good with voting on it tonight based on the agreement, but I would like maybe have us get it emailed to us what the final agreement was and what the changes were that were made.
We can do that. We'll draft up what was put on the record tonight and circulate the document.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the solicitor? All right, so then if we want to take a motion to, approve the conditions set forth between the town and the licensee, we can move forward with that pending, and then we'll get a copy of that sent to us so we know. Okay.
I make a motion for the new agreement.
Councilor Shaw, motions for the new agreement. Can I get a second? Second, Councilor Kinch. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes 6-0 with Councilor Mativia recusing himself. At this point, we'll turn the meeting back over to the chair, Councilor Mativia.
Thank you, Vice Chair McGill. Get my computer back on. So, next up, we have a permanent outdoor expansion license, an application from Apotheca Inc., doing business as Blackstone Herbs and Coffee Bar, located at 3 Dexter Street, and this will be pending a fire inspection. And I'll open the public hearing at 7:51. Mr. Sandoval? Hello, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, my name's Eddie Sandoval. Address is 439 Broad Street, Cumberland, Rhode Island.
Thank you. And so what you're looking to do is expand your business in the same building, expanding to the unit next door?
Correct, yep, so we're expanding, it's gonna be in the same property. We're just connecting the two spaces just to have more seating and, yeah, just accommodate more, like, people and families and groups.
Perfect. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 7:52 and leave questions and comments to the commissioners.
Questions?
Mr. Shaw.
So you're expanding into what used to be the tattoo parlor, right?
Correct.
That right there?
Yep.
And the sidewalk seating, it's only going to be on the Broad Street side? There's not going to be any going up Dexter Street?
Correct, yep, just the
Correct?
Broad Street side. It's a double sidewalk, so we'll be using just the first half.
So it's not even really on the public sidewalk, the landlord actually owns that piece.
No, right, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure that, because it's mapped, that it's not going up the
Oh,
side.
correct, yeah.
At all. It's just staying on the Broad Street.
Correct, yeah.
Frontage.
It's like on an incline, so we wouldn't be able to sit anyone there or, yeah.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
some people would try or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
So I just want to make sure that if you intended to do it, it's not on the map, or
Okay.
if you weren't doing it, then the map is perfect. So that's great. So,
Yeah, we don't plan on doing that.
all right, excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Commissioner Kinch.
I do, it's more than a comment. I just want to congratulate you for expanding your business.
Thank you.
In Cumberland. I know it must be, not owning a small business, but I'm sure it was a grind, especially when you got into this a couple years ago. And I'm sure, this council backed our Broad Street regeneration, which I'm sure is helping you somewhat to be, at least on the outside dining, you're on a nicer environment now when this is going to be completed. So again, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really excited.
Okay, I do have a question. So this is the expansion next door, great, that's fantastic, but it also has outdoor seating on Broad Street, right? It was my understanding that if we approved outdoor seating, we had to have approval from the three chiefs?
So we did originally have, the original space had outdoor seating already approved by Deputy Chief Alf. We already voted to approve outdoor seating. You're just expanding it to the next section.
Right, so we had this first two, but no one's commented on the additional four
Additional
tables.
three. That's true, so we'll make this dependent on approval from Deputy Chief Alf. That's a good point.
It also needs, it's our regulation, doesn't require the fire chief, rescue chief, and police?
Madam Clerk, don't they sign off on this when they applied for this? So that might have actually already been done now that I think about it.
It's part of their review.
It's all online, and they get the emails and they approve it.
Pending expire, so they may have already, I know Deputy Chief Alice is waiting on it, and I'm pretty sure that EMS has as well, we're just waiting on it.
Okay, but those first two are not part of the record, correct? 'Cause I don't see them.
I think it's on the application, right? There's 13 pages online. Is it? It doesn't include the accident, but oh, it does not, okay.
Okay, so if we could make whatever motion subject to the fire department?
Right, okay, yeah. I already did
Positive.
that, Yep, to fire, yep. Okay. And if there are no further questions, I'll take that motion dependent on the fire.
I'll make the motion to approve. Oh, I'll second.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion by Commissioner Bolio, second by Commissioner Kinch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 7-0. Congrats. It's nice to see a business in that location actually take shape because it's been a rocky history there. So good luck and congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up, we have new business, a temporary outdoor serving license. An application for a temporary outdoor serving of alcohol from Our Lady of Fatima Church for Our Lady of Fatima Annual Feast located at 1 Fatima Drive to be held September 1st through September 3rd, 2023. And this will be pending retail sales permit, tent permit, police, building, fire, EMS, and insurance. Mr. Costa. If you would please state your name and address for the...
Good evening. Jack Costa, 70 U Street, Cumberland.
Thank you. And this is the same feast that you've been doing every year?
Yes,
Nothing different?
nothing different.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I do not.
Anyone from the audience in favor or against? On Zoom? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Shaw, second by Commissioner Kinch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
7-0. Thank you. Good luck. Next up is resolutions. Resolution BOL-23-01, a resolution amending the Board of License Rules and Regulations relating to closing times. And the intent of this is to put Sunday in line with the rest of the week. And this will allow Sunday brunch, which most communities do, and also many restaurants currently open at 11. And this will allow them, if they don't already, to serve a glass of wine with lunch on Sunday. So that's the intent, and it also does fix, there was kind of a flaw with the original one. It said between 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Saturday and not before 12 on Sundays, but it never gave a closing time. So technically on Sundays, they have to close. So the real change is just making it Monday through Sunday. Any questions, comments? Motion?
I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kinch, second by Commissioner Shaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 7-0. Next up is public comments. Anyone from the audience wish to speak? Please state your name and address for the record. Zoom. Okay, next up is adjournment. Motion by Commissioner Shaw, second by Commissioner Kinch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned at 7:59.
Thank you, Counselor, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Cumberland Town Council for July 19th, 2023. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:59 p.m. For the record, all the council members are present. Next item on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is general announcements. Councilors, does anyone have an announcement? Councilor Shaw?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make it official that everybody knew that I did not win the Mega Millions ticket. I'm not the winner. I want to be sticking around for a little bit, okay? I know it was in my district, and I know you all were thinking I wasn't going to be here tonight, but it's because I didn't buy the ticket, so.
That's good to know that you're going to be still with us, Councilor.
Where was it sold?
Mobile and Pine Swamp.
On Pine Swamp Mobile.
Councilors, any other announcements? Hearing none, we're going to go on to the next item on our agenda. Is our consent agenda. Councilors, if no one has any questions on the consent agenda, I will take a motion to approve. I do have a motion by Councilor Shaw. A second. Second by Councilor McGill. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is passed by a vote of 7-0. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We'll have two public comments, so we'll start with this first one. Anybody in the chamber would like to address the council? If you do, please state your name and address for the record. Seeing none in the chamber, Madam Clerk, is anyone joining us on Zoom? Thank you. Next item on our agenda, it's reports and communications. The first is A, we have a report of executive session votes. As may be necessary, the council took no executive session votes. The next item is item B. It's an update from the school committee. We have committee person Collins with us. Mr. Collins.
Dennis Collins, 5 Wedgewood Drive, Cumberland School Committee, which is also in Mr. Shaw's district. I also did not win the Mega Millions, but I intend on winning the Powerball tonight, which is more money anyway. I have a few updates, the school construction updates, and there was a change to the school calendar. If you aren't aware, caused a little bit of a stir. I'll try to explain that the best I can. School construction, community school, the project continues to move along on time. The new cafeteria, flooring, and lighting are in, and the stage, new stage is nearing completion. And if your children went there and you're familiar with the community school cafeteria and stage, it looks really, really nice, and it was incredibly necessary. The kitchen area will be receiving new appliances in the coming days. The construction team has punched through the new addition to the original building. Work is now continuing with a few classroom spaces connected to the new addition. And lastly, the outside work is taken place in earnest. This includes sidewalks, paving, and outside seating areas. So if you drive by, you'll see a new sidewalk. The playground's all gated up. So they're moving very quickly. It's amazing how fast they can build things. Ashton, the project is involving the new addition is nearing completion and on time as well. Flooring is near completion, heating elements are in, and the cubby areas and sinks are in. And as you may recall, Ashton will be moving to the transitional building next year, in this upcoming school year. During this time, phase 2 of Ashton's renovation, the main building will take place. So they're ready to go on that as well. And finally, Garvin, work on the main building continues. This week we were seeing new flooring going in. We were also seeing the windows nearly completed. The new roof is complete. Site work is underway with sidewalks and paving, which obviously, if you live where we live, many of you drove by it probably on the way down here. The remaining parts of the original building are scheduled for completion for the opening of the school year. The addition is a little behind schedule. It's estimated 4 weeks. This time last year, it's very similar to Cumberland Hill. This time last year, we got a report, I think I had called you, and the beam was bent, and that kind of put things off of, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks. So they have a contingency plan in place for lunches and such. So the estimate is about 4 weeks. They're hoping to shave some time off that this summer. But right now it stands at 4 weeks. I spoke to the superintendent today about it. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about the school construction.
Councilors, any questions for Mr. Collins?
And the only other thing then would be the school calendar. There have been some changes to the upcoming school year calendar and with the school start and end time schedule, which were approved by the committee on last Thursday evening. These changes were required as a result of RIDE mandates. The following 3 changes include: first, we have received approval from RIDE to include required teacher training in reading. It's called the Right to Read Days. There's going to be 2 days. In the instructional days, this means the current school year will move from 180 down to 178 days. So we're getting credit for 2 days. Next, and people are confused that it was all part of the same thing, but they are all RIDE mandates. Next, given the amount of instructional minutes, so if you have children in the district, you know Wednesdays are early release, it's usually an hour, that has been eliminated. RIDE, this was a bit contentious with many people I talked to in town, schedules. This was a RIDE mandate. They just said no more early release. So as a result of that, Cumberland currently has an overage in instructional hours. So as a result of that, RIDE has given us permission, if there are snow days this upcoming school year, we will be forgiven for 3 of them. So if we have 3 snow days, they'll be wiped off. So they're not going to be added at the end of the calendar. I think currently the calendar, I don't have it, I should have printed it up. The current targeted end of the school year next year is the Friday before Juneteenth, which I think falls on a Tuesday. So we're going to be forgiven for 3 days if we need them. So I'm sure the children will be rooting on, and the teachers will be rooting on snow days, up to 3 of them. And then finally, the last part got cut off. So those are really the 2 main ones, the instructional hours, the forgiving of snow days, and then finally the Right to Read days. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about the school calendar.
Counselor Shaw.
So if there is no snow days, it's too bad.
That was actually brought up by one of my fellow members. It was suggested that we shave 3 days off and then add them at the end. So obviously, it was a pie-in-the-sky idea, but maybe next year. But, right, there's no, even if they did approve it, it's too late in the game to approve that. And I don't, there wasn't a sense of urgency to get that done. It was just an idea somebody floated, I think partially in jest.
Yeah, so whatever the date is on the calendar, if there's no snow days, that date's going to remain as the last day if we enter April with no snow days, for
Exactly.
example. Okay, thanks.
Exactly. But if you root for 3 snow days, it's 3 less days. If you like school like me, you want to be there for all days, year round. Any other questions?
Counselor Schmidt.
So if I heard you correctly, there are no more early releases on Wednesday?
No more Wednesdays, no. Ryan said no more.
Counselor Bowler?
Yeah. Did they have a rationale for that?
No, not really. It's just we're in violation, essentially. I would say, and you obviously being a former committee member, understand the importance of those early release. So I think internally, the struggle right now is with professional development days. And I know Mr. Damana and his team and the teachers use those early releases for a lot of the training. So now Mr. Damana and his team are scrambling around trying to figure out how we're going to work those instruction hours. But, this is just another, I think I've been here before. Mandates from RIDE, at least these don't have financial burdens, unlike most of their mandates. But this is something that I think the parents, some parents are excited that, they don't have to rush out of work. The kids are clearly unhappy. I got an earful from 2 kids at home, but it is a RIDE mandate, so there's really very little we can do.
But the intent was to help with professional development.
Exactly.
Which impacts student learning, which I just find RIDE's decisions to be short-sighted and ridiculous.
Yeah, we push back, and even if we were to appeal it, I don't think there's much in consulting with Mr. Adams. It's something we can pursue down the road. That was another thing we discussed. But even if we pursue it, it's not going to go in effect. We're not going to get closure in time for the start of school in September, unfortunately. I'm in agreement with you.
Hugely disappointing.
Yeah,
And not your fault.
No, it's not ours. And I think when it came out, all these things, people are coming at us. I'm like, it's RIDE. Call your state representative or your state senator or whatever. People suggested we ignore RIDE, but then that comes at a grave risk for funding and so on, as you're fully aware.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Just one. Have we, and I can't remember, councilors, refresh my memory if they've been here. Should we get Collier back in here for an update maybe for the council of how everything's going, overruns, anything like that?
I'd be happy to set that up.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sure it doesn't have to be obviously in August, but I don't know if it's September, October, we could get them in just to see how.
I'd be happy to set that up, yeah. Just make a phone call.
Just
and,
to get an update. I can always run it by the mayor as well as the chair.
yeah, whatever you want. I mean, they work for us, so
Yeah,
if you want them in
I
here,
think it
we'll
would
make
be
it happen.
good to get us maybe a little in-depth update, that's all.
I'd be happy to set that up for you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Collins? Thank you
All right,
again.
thank you very much.
Thank you again. Next item on our agenda, I'm going to go down to monthly, quarterly financial reports ending May 31st, 2023. Madam Clerk, is the Finance Director, did he join us on Zoom today? Okay, so councilors, without him on Zoom, if anybody has any question, we can certainly call his office. I'll suggest the same on the check register. If there's any questions on the check register, just to contact the Finance Director. Next item, request from the tax assessor, review and approve May 2023 abatements and supplemental bills. So if there's no questions, I'll take an approval on the supplementals for 2023 real estate in the amount of $2,398.95. Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilor Shaw, second. Second by Councilor Mativia. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the supplementals pass by a vote of 7-0. Next will be, I will take a motion, if there's no questions, to approve the 2023 2023 real estate abatements in the amount of $3,092.63. Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilor Shaw. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilor McGill. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The abatements passed by a vote of 7-0. Next item on the agenda is our review of department reports. I'm just going to, for the record, read them down. We do have reports on animal control, building, library, parks and recreation, planning, police department, senior services, and the town clerk's office. We also have quarterly reports from the solicitor's office, human resources, Office of Child, Youth and Learning, Public Works, and the water department. Councilors, after reviewing those, does anyone have any questions on those that we can direct to the...
Yeah, I'll do one question, maybe the chief can answer it.
Councilor Bradley.
Sir?
Chief, I don't know if it falls under your department, but dispatching,
Yes, sir.
does it?
Yes.
How's that working out right now? I know it ain't been easy, so.
No. I believe we're down to, I'll say 4 dispatchers. We've just recently hired 2, so there's 2 in training, but they're not on their own yet, so I'm counting them as just trainees. But it's certainly an area of need and concern. We have somewhat of a plan in place. We interviewed 2 more people we're starting backgrounds on as of actually this morning. Yeah, it's been a problem for sure.
Just not enough candidates, chief, or just the same as everything else?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. Not a ton of candidates, and then the candidates that we've gotten, I don't want to say by and large because that's not fair, but there's been some issues with the candidates themselves, quality-wise, and it is. I can't stress enough how crucial and critical that role is. When you're on the other end of the phone calling for help, they're not talking to a police officer or EMS worker or fireman. They're talking to the dispatchers. So it's. I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
It's a challenge.
It is. It is.
And how many dispatchers do you foresee having if you can ever fill it?
Pie in the sky goal. I'd love to see both of those seats filled 24/7, 365.
And right now, you're probably...
We're working on trying to make sure we have one there at all times. But again, that's not ideal.
No.
No, sir.
No, and it's been run short for quite a while, I would say.
Correct. In my estimation, yes.
So, okay. Thanks, Chief.
Sir.
Thank you, Counselor. If there's no further questions on the reports, I'm going to go down to the next item on the agenda, which is letter H, review of resolution R22-30B relating to the placement of 7 speed bumps along Reservoir Road. Chief Benson.
Mr. President, members of the council, happy to report that I would consider the installation of those speed humps to be successful. If you look back at that original resolution, some of the metrics that we use is an average speed. We have a couple of tools that we can measure speed, count cars, that sort of thing. And back then, the average speed in 25-mile-an-hour zone in Reservoir was 11 miles over, 36 miles an hour. But more importantly, not so much the average, but the 85th percentile is a big important number that we look at, which was 17 miles an hour over the limit. At that marker, 85% was 42 miles an hour. Since the installation, when we ran that data again, I don't have the car counter piece because that was vandalized in the initial stages, but the speed itself, the 85th percentile, has dropped down to the actual speed limit of 25 miles an hour. So that is a marked improvement for speed. I can tell you that we haven't had the normal complaints that apparently we had before I came here, so I can't speak to personal connection to that, but from what I'm told, the calls are almost non-existent now. Other different things in the area, but not for speeding. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions for the chief on Reservoir Road?
Yeah.
Councilor Bradley.
So, Chief, one of the bigger complaints that were up there were the people hanging around, peeling out.
Yep.
But that's still going on, correct?
I have not gotten any reports. If there were any, there might be an outlier here or there, but nothing to the level according to the comparative that the captain did. So.
And how much traffic do you think diverted to North Attleboro Road?
I couldn't tell you. Like I said, the car counter part of it, we couldn't capture that data on the second review, so I don't know. I'm just assuming that it went down significantly, but to say what that number would be, I couldn't give you the
Because
answer.
hearing from the neighbors behind the reservoir, they now use North Attleboro Road that won't drive Reservoir Road because of the speed bumps. They said Plainville, North Attleboro, and Cumberland are all radar in that area.
That's when you have some sort of whether it's, other communities have speed cameras, speed pumps, however you do it, people are going to go to the natural next source. So
it just moves the problem.
So I would say this. I would say people definitely have found alternative ways to go, but I also haven't got complaints in those neighborhoods of the same action or activity that was happening in Reservoir. At least nothing that was flagged. So.
So I can say just from driving it 3 times, doing a little work in that area, that every time I went there, there's somebody hanging out.
On Reservoir or on the other side?
Reservoir.
Okay.
And also the calls that I've gotten from the neighbors have been the peeling out,
Okay.
the hanging out, the potting at night.
Okay. I can put it on our radar. Like I said, they're not calling us with those complaints, but if they're calling you, I'm sure to pass that along.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there anybody from this area who'd like to talk on that issue? Sir, please, just state your name and address for the record.
Russell Clowen. I live on Reservoir Road. I'm in the beginning, 15, and even in the beginning of that road, sometimes I'm working, raking, putting mulch down, and I even put cones out there to protect myself, and they're still humming right along. I wave my hand, slow down. They put their hand up, they yell at me. A couple of times I was out talking to the neighbor, 2 cars coming by, and we're standing on the side. You'd think they would slow down. It doesn't. Now, where the speed bumps are, I'll go over those speed bumps less than 25, all right? And this car's going right by me because I'm going too slow, all right? And it seems like around, I'm going to say 9, 10 o'clock and then on, the kid's just having a ball burning out. If you look on that road, there's marks. You can't even see asphalt. It's just tire marks. Another time I was there was over 20 cars parked. Now, a lot of them are parked, and they could be, family members watching the sunset, taking pictures, all right? But, you get into 10 o'clock, 11, 12 o'clock, they're not taking the pictures. It's not family. So what I have seen, in my own opinion, it's actually worse than with those speed bumps. It's not better. And when we first had the hearing, I came in and said, I don't know why there's an officer's not there giving out speeding tickets. And the officer that was in charge of traffic, he even said he caught someone doing 80 miles an hour. I says, at 80 miles an hour, the bill on that ticket was astronomical. And I says, if you catch a few people like that, that's going to pay for the police officer to be up there just giving out tickets. So I don't know what, any idea how much it costs to put the speed bumps in?
I don't, but Mr. Duat is here. You could absolutely ask him that question.
I think it's, whatever the amount is, it's too much money and not solving the problem.
Okay, that's, Chief, of course.
I can answer part of that question. The signage and reflective paint on our end, our component of that was $3,122.60, but there were parts that Cumberland Highway, I believe in their budget, so I couldn't speak to those figures, but that was what came out of our traffic calming. And like I said, I would point back to that 85th percentile went down drastically with the installation of those speed bumps to the point where, again, we're not there all the time, but data is data. When that little box is on a telephone pole and it's giving us unbiased opinion, it's telling us that they're actually going 25 miles an hour, and that's all recorded. That's not something I can just give you verbal with. It's actually printed in the machine, so.
But is it possible, Chief, that it's a little, because the bumps don't stop where, at the beginning where Mr. Clone lives?
So I don't know the exact specific location where they did it. I know it's within those 7 speed humps, so I'm sure that in that area, we might get a different data reading.
Right.
But I think the purpose was to measure the effect of the area that has the speed humps in them, and that's where it was installed.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, could they put, a speed sign with solar powered and it flashing to saying, what your speed is? And the other thing was, I don't complain because you call up, even if I got the plate, I'm working out there. I don't have a camera taking someone's, license plate down. It's theoretically, from the reservoir on, there's only one house on Reservoir Road. Right, the other ones are on Kern Boulevard, Haynes Road, and then it gets into, Torrey Road where it splits off, and Reservoir Road goes up toward Camp Carana. So there's only really one house, except in the beginning from the flat area where I'm living. But sometimes you get a nice day on the weekend, there's motorcycles and cars, and as soon as they hit the gas line, they zip right along, they step right on it. And if I'm out there, I'm gonna slow them down. Doesn't do a bit of good.
If you recall, that was the same issue the gentleman or lady
I
had in the middle. There was the same thing, waving them down, where I believe a altercation actually started over that. So
Yeah.
I understand exactly what you went through.
But it seems like, Chief, I don't know, it seems like there's less police officers up there, especially at night. If they go during the day, do they do a cruise up there once a day?
So I can't speak to specific traffic patterns or patrol patterns because it's randomized like that. I know that this is an area of concern that we obviously address with this. I can tell you that numbers are down across the board up there. That could be just because of the speed humps, or it could be that because the humps are there, data comes back and the officers have retracted a bit. But I can tell you that they get up there frequently. What that actually means, I'm not sure. They don't log every street that they go on and if they take a post. So
Okay.
It's hard to give you an answer on that one, if that makes sense.
Now, are they supposed to park on the road?
I missed the last part of it,
Are they
sir.
allowed to park on Reservoir Road, up by the reservoir?
And as far as I know, no, there's no parking on either side of the street.
I go up there for a ride, and if I see that many cars, all you have to do is have one car come in from Plainville, come down Torrey Road, another one come up Reservoir Road. Do they actually give them a ticket and it's a fine?
I can't answer that. You'd have to direct that to the chief if they handed out tickets. I just don't know.
I wouldn't say do it, during the daylight hours, right? A lot of people are there, like I said, with families, but late at night, it's a different story, and they're parked on both sides of the road.
Maybe the new traffic officer could contact Russell and meet with him to see if there's any type of resolution they could help him with.
Yeah, we absolutely can look at that. I would just caution that if somebody's parked there unlawful and we're bound to give them tickets, that's applicable to all. So if it's no parking, it's no parking. And that sometimes presents problems to a family that's there to take a picture of a sunset or
That's
something
what
along
I
those
just
lines.
said. During the daylight hours, I'd say no, and I know the signs have to be posted so many feet apart. Otherwise, if it does go to court, it's disallowed.
We can certainly look into it, sir.
I'd appreciate it, Chief. Thank you. He's been
Okay.
patient.
Thank you
So
very
good to
much.
see you, sir. Anyone else would like to comment on Reservoir Road?
Does Mr. Duat have all the numbers on that?
In what numbers in particular? Expenditures?
The installation, the maintenance, the cleaning it up.
I don't recall the actual cost of the speed humps. They usually range anywhere. I don't think it was more than $5,000 each. I want to say it was probably even less than that. Although we didn't pay out of pocket, this is coming from rental of one of the contractors that's using our property at the Pascal facility, so it was an exchange. In lieu of paying the rent, that's what they were doing. In terms of maintenance, so the chief has the ultimate best practice electromechanical devices to measure, the success of it. I have a more crude method, and I know it's infuriating some people out there because we're replacing signs probably twice a month now. For some reason, they're either cutting the signs off or they're twisting the signs. The advance notice signs that I had requested to put up, as well as the bump signs. So to me, if somebody's upset with the installation of the speed humps, it's a little archaic metric to measure success, but they're working. When I hear numbers like what the chief cited, the 85th percentile being down to the speed limit. So the speed humps, the design of those speed humps was to have a traveling ability for 25 miles per hour. So if the 85th percentile is achieving that, then it's even better, because the design was for average of 25 miles per hour. So to achieve the 85th percentile, it's even better. The goals, I think, as I heard on when I first came to town, it was that it was like a drag racing strip out there. So will you get cars peeling off? You could do that in the parking lot. You don't need a big stretch of road. So that is going on. Every time I travel that road, you will see patches of, rubber left behind.
And it does look pretty excessive, Mr. Duarte.
It may be, but the measure that was given, the task that was given to the police department was the overall length of the road, that stretch of road, and what it was doing, the elevated speeds. Like the traffic officer of the time had recorded 85 miles per hour. So you're not seeing that anymore. And I didn't see the data from the chief, but I doubt you will find anybody traveling 50 miles per hour on that road. And if they are, they're going to be doing vehicle damage. That's their choosing. But the goal of reducing speeds, I think it's been achieved. If you are looking for a total reduction to do no more than 25 miles per hour throughout that whole stretch of road, then you're going to have to probably double up on those speed humps, which it was something that was cited during those initial meetings that nobody wanted. They wanted just those speed humps that were installed and no more. And I can tell you right now, if you want to see 25 miles per hour in that whole stretch, you will have to double up on the speed humps. Will that reduce the vehicles, trying to burn tires in a short distance? Maybe not, because the separation between the humps should be probably around 300 feet, maybe 275 feet to achieve those 25 mile per hour speeds. But I think in general, by the numbers that the chief has cited, it's working. By looking how frustrated people are with having to cut those signposts, somebody's getting upset that they no longer have a drag strip for them to race their vehicle. So in essence, for the road itself, there's higher levels of success. Isolated pockets, you will still see somebody, and you'll get that on Broad Street. You'll get it anywhere.
And there'll be without knowing the number of cars traveling it now, Mr. Duarte, if the neighbors aren't using the road anymore because it's too much of a hassle, the only ones that are going up there are probably the ones hanging out.
I would venture to say, we have, I don't think the chief has measured. The true way to measure where the traffic is going is to actually go to those roads and start doing the pre and post counts.
I think if you've got 3 communities radaring along Fales and North Attleboro Road, pretty sure that's where most of the traffic's going.
And maybe they could take measurements just to see if that's the case. Sometimes it's perception, where they think there's a little bit more volume than there was before. I don't think the locals are going to stop going on that road, because you can't hit 30 miles per hour and not bottom out your vehicle or damage your vehicle. we were thinking of the first responders. You know, you want your rescue vehicles, the fire engines. You also want them to be able to travel that without slowing down too much.
And has there been any damage to any town vehicles there?
That I know of, I don't think so. I haven't heard of any damage to town vehicles traversing those speed humps.
I believe there's a couple that I've heard of.
Then shame on them. I don't know what speeds they would be carrying, because at 25 miles per hour, you're not going to do much damage. And if they did, then I'm very curious to know that incident.
We'll look into that, Mr. Duarte.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the director?
Oh, one other thing, I did send a video to the town clerk of people hanging out on the reservoir that was sent to me by a resident.
Okay. Is that just happened, or do we have it for this record, or no? Okay. Thank you, Counsel. All right, so on this matter, obviously, we don't need, it was just an update, so there'll be no vote necessary. Chief, you're going to address that with Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen, thank you. All right, so we're going to go down to the next item on the agenda, which is licenses. We have a special entertainment license. It's an application from a special event entertainment license from Our Lady of Fatima Church for Our Lady of Fatima's annual feast located at 1 Fatima Drive to be held on September 1st through September 3rd, 2023. If we do approve it, councilors, it's pending the state promoter's permit, updated retail sales permit, and final tent inspection and insurance. We did hear this earlier at the Board of Commissioners. Is there any further questions or new questions that came up that anybody would like to talk to the director? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve with those stipulations. Motion by Councilor Shaw. It is second by Councilor McGill. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the license passes by a vote 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Costa. Next item, we have a private detective's license renewal for Mr. Mark Ross. If it is approved, we're pending an updated photo and fingerprint. If there are no questions, I will take a motion to approve this renewal. Motion by Councilor McGill to approve the renewal, second by Councilor Shaw. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the approval passes by a vote of 7-0. Next item on the agenda is old business. These are ordinances for public hearing. The first one we have is ordinance 22-21. It's an ordinance establishing and implementing a program of tax stabilization for the redevelopment of Ann and Hope Mill, located at 100 Ann and Hope Way, and improvements thereupon, and the operation and maintenance of residential, commercial, retail, and office use thereupon. This was tabled from April 5th, 2023. We are being asked to table this again till August 16th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion to table by Councilor Shaw has moved it, second by Councilor Mativia. All in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is tabled to August 16th by a vote of 7-0. Next, ordinance for public hearing is ordinance 23-04. It's an ordinance relating to door-to-door solicitation. This was tabled from our June 7th, 2023 meeting. We also got a requested table until August 16th, 2023. If there's no comment, I'll take a motion to table. Motion by Councilor Shaw, second by Councilor Mativia. All in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is tabled by a vote of 7-0. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 23-05. It's an ordinance, an amendment of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of Cumberland, Rhode Island, as amended, amending the ordinance and map thereof with reference to Cumberland Assessors Plat 54, Lots 7 and 8. This was tabled from April 5th, 2023. Mr. Chairman, I'm under the impression that this has been withdrawn.
Yes, that's my understanding also.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, for public hearing. It's ordinance 23-09. It's an ordinance amending the code of ordinance related to the disposition of public property, presented by the council president on behalf of the administration. This also was tabled from June 21st, 2023, and we are asking to table again until August 16th, 2023. Do I have a motion to table? Motion by Councilor Shaw, seconded by Councilor Gill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This ordinance is again tabled to August 16th. Next item on the agenda for public hearing is ordinance 23-12. It's an ordinance amending the code of ordinance regarding winter parking regulations. It's presented by the council president on behalf of the administration. It's tabled as well from June 21st, 2023. I'm going to open the public hearing at 8:37. Councilor Schmidt.
Thank you. Yes, on June 28th, the ordinance subcommittee met, and by a vote of 2-0, we're recommending favorable passage. Myself and Councilor Bollier were present. Mr. Mativia was absent. Very simply, this changes the way we notify the public of winter parking by replacing the posting in 2 public places with posting it on our website and other social media.
Thank you. Councilors, does anybody have any questions on this particular ordinance of Mr. Schmidt? Hearing none, I'll go to the public. Would anybody in the public like to address ordinance 23-12 on winter parking? Seeing none in the chamber, I will go to virtual. Anyone would like to speak on this virtually? Okay. Hearing no further comment, I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:38 p.m. And if no further discussion by the council, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve, please.
I got a motion by Councilor Schmidt. It's been seconded by Councilor Mativia, and we will go to the roll call vote. Councilor Schmidt?
Yes.
Councilor Bolio? Yes. Councilor Mativia? Yes. Councilor Shaw? Yes. Councilor McGill?
Yes.
Councilor Bradley? The chair also votes yes. The ordinance passes by a vote 7-0.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Sandra, with the new website, right, there's a notify me bubble that's right there for winter parking. Does that fall under town alerts? Oh, okay, then Sarah. I just tried looking for it real quick.
Yeah, so you can, the way the website is set up, you can sign up for different types of alerts. If you click on the notify me, it will ask you basically what you want to sign up for notifications for. So you could sign up for notifications for just a calendar, just news, and there's also, I forget what the exact verbiage is, but there's just like a town alerts
Right,
section.
that's what I'm looking at.
So that would be how I would post if there was a parking ban. The town alert is going to be the banner that shows up across the top of the screen. So if you sign up for town alerts, you're going to get either a text message or an email, depending on how you choose to sign up, every time we post something on that banner across the top. I know we utilized it for the Mendon Road detour, and because of that, people have already started signing up for it. So we already do have a decent number of people who are receiving those notifications. But yeah, we could utilize that for the parking ban as well.
Okay, but that's where ultimately, that's where it'd be under town alert.
Yep, so it would
Okay.
be on town alerts. It would also likely be in the news section, and it would end up on social media just to cover all bases. But that's where most people, if you were talking about physically people getting an alert, it would be from that banner across the top of the website.
And just because I don't know when this site went live and when we're talking about signing up, if you were going to sign up for trash delay and or when leave pickup was going to happen, where do you do it on here? Because I don't see it.
So,
Like, how would you do that?
well, you can sign up for the news updates, and so every time I post a news update, which is how the website is, so when I post a news update that says yard waste moving to bi-weekly, if
Yeah.
you're subscribed to the news, you're going to get a text message that
Okay.
says there's a new news alert, yard waste has moved to bi-weekly.
Okay. Cool, thank you.
Yep, so I urge you all to subscribe to the website.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. King. Okay, with no further questions, I'm going to go to the next ordinance for public hearing. It's ordinance 23-13. It's an ordinance amending the zone of ordinance to add the Arnold's Mills Historic District to the zoning ordinance and expand the Arnold's Mills Historic District. Presented by Councilor Kinch on behalf of the administration. This ordinance was tabled from June 21st, 2023. I'll open the public hearing at 8:42. Councilor Schmidt.
Yes, this was also heard on our agenda on June 28th, and by a vote of 2-0, we're recommending favorable passage. I believe Mr. Stevens is here, the proponent of the ordinance, to explain the historic district.
Good evening, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Arnold Mills is a very important historic area. It's so important that it was one of the first National Register nominations in Rhode Island's history back in the late 1970s. It's got a remarkable integrity. It was developed in the late 1700s and early 1800s, and much of the remnants of that little hamlet are still there. The town applied for and received an $8,000 grant from Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission a couple of years ago to see if we could enact a local historic district for this area. The difference between a National Historic Register district and a local historic district is that the National District is a recognition by the federal government that the sites, the scattered sites here are very, very significant, but the local district is an ordinance which provides for the Historic District Commission to have authority over exterior alterations, demolition, or new build. If it's a one-for-one, if it's a roof that you're replacing, they have no jurisdiction. They have no jurisdiction over color of paints. Again, it is a way to protect resources and to so that property values are strengthened. It's a fact that properties that are in local historic districts nationwide achieve a higher value than comparable properties that aren't in the districts, because you're not going to see a 19 or an 18th century house get knocked down because there's no provision for preserving that. The department reached out to these 31 property owners, and we direct mailed them, invited them to a planning meeting at the Methodist Church on December 1st. Then we sent registered letters for a public Zoom meeting that was held on February 13th. And our pitch to the property owners were, hear us out. If you don't want to participate, if you don't want your property in the district, then you can opt out, and we will exclude it. And so we had 2 or 3 of the 31 properties opt out, and they are not before you tonight. Some of the properties they're not going to opt out because there are 2 cemeteries. The Methodist Church is fine. There's a fire district property. Pawtucket Water has 2 significant structures. So, but I'm pleased to report that we've had a lot of cooperation. In fact, the Historic District Commission, who's, for the record, since the late 70s, has never turned down an application. There might be, going back and forth and negotiate a good resolution, but there's never been an application turned down. The Historic District Commission, as a final layer of outreach, canvassed the property owners, went out on their own and knocked on doors and left material if they couldn't reach these folks. I want to offer you a very brief presentation by Elizabeth Warburton, who is the consultant, who I think she's prepared to give you a Zoom presentation, again, very brief. about the historical significance of the Arnold Mills District.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, could you just state your name and address for the record again?
Elizabeth Warburton from Epsilon Associates at 3 Clock Tower Place, Maynard, Massachusetts, 01754.
Thank you very much and welcome to the Cumberland Town Council.
Thank you for having me.
And-
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yes, we can, thank you.
All right. So thank you for having me. And as Jonathan mentioned, my name is Liz Warburton, and I am a preservation planner at Epsilon Associates. As you know, the town of Cumberland hired Epsilon as a consultant in August 2022. We were retained to determine the feasibility of expanding the existing Arnold Mills Local Historic District, which currently consists of one building. Much of the Arnold Mills neighborhood was listed in the National Register in 1978 as the Arnold Mills Historic District. Our scope of work included an evaluation of that documentation to determine whether the National Register district boundaries could serve as a guideline for an expanded local historic district. We completed field survey of the National Register district with Glenn Modica and collaborated with the town on a public meeting to engage and educate Arnold Mills homeowners about local historic district designation. We prepared a written report for the town summarizing our findings and making recommendations for the town's consideration. To provide context for the project, I will briefly share a historical overview of the Arnold Mills neighborhood. The village of Arnold Mills and the surrounding area in East Cumberland consist of 18th and 19th century residences and 19th century civic buildings, like the prominently located Arnold Mills Methodist Church. Arnold Mills contains architecturally significant buildings, such as the house on Sneech Pond Road, pictured here at center, which retains its Greek Revival door surround, and an interesting shed roof dormer over the principal entrance. As Jonathan said, Arnold Mills is perhaps best known for its early rural industry, around which the village developed in the 19th century. The village supported a sawmill, grist mill, and machine shop, which retained their small-scale, community-based operations, even as much larger mill complexes were developed around Cumberland at that time. There has been some loss of historic resources, notably the circa 1825 Metcalf machine shop, shown here at left, that burned in 1987. Despite this, Arnold Mills retains its rural character and highly intact 18th and 19th century buildings. The area retains a high level of integrity in its setting and the design, materials, and workmanship of the surviving buildings. In addition to its significant buildings, Arnold Mills contains a late 19th century Pratt Pony Truss Bridge constructed by the Boston Bridge Company on Sneech Pond Road. Many of the buildings and structures in Arnold Mills can be considered individually significant, but the village is important because of its stylistic cohesion and the variety of resource types that survive. The built environment of the village is able to effectively share its early rural industrial heritage and serves as a case study for the historical and architectural evolution of the area. The holistic significance of the area is one of the reasons that Arnold Mills is listed in the National Register. Arnold Mills was listed in 1978 and is considered significant at the local level for its architecture, industry, and religious histories. The examples shown on the previous slides demonstrate the architectural variety of the district and its overall high level of physical integrity. Back one slide. The building on the far left here at 735 Nate Whipple Highway is the only building in the existing local historic district. The National Register nomination from 1978 included 31 resources in its inventory. The district is non-contiguous, which is somewhat unusual, and means that it contains areas that are not geographically connected. This is the National Register boundary map of the Arnold Mills Historic District.
with its 3 sections outlined in blue. At the top, you have Sneech Pond Road and Nate Whipple Highway extending south, and on the left, you have Abbott Run Valley Road. You'll see in the bottom right that one parcel is highlighted in orange. This is the Captain John Walcott House on Nate Whipple Highway, which is currently the single building local historic district. Epsilon evaluated the existing National Register boundaries and documentation and completed field survey to assess change in the district over time. As I mentioned, several resources inventoried in the original nomination, such as the Metcalf Machine Shop, a former freight station, and one house, do not survive. The district is otherwise highly intact. The National Register District provides a clear template for an expanded Arnold Mills local historic district. Epsilon provided an analysis of the properties within the district and recommended the town follow these boundaries for its expanded local historic district. There are 2 outstanding examples of late 18th century Cape Cod residences that are adjacent to the National Register District, noted here in orange at the center, that we also recommended for inclusion. We provided a detailed analysis of our methodology and recommendations to the town in a written report. Over the course of the project, we conducted a thorough assessment of the Arnold Mills neighborhood. Our recommendation to the town was that Arnold Mills is architecturally and historically significant, worthy of preservation, and a good candidate for an expanded local historic district. Local historic districts encourage and enable the preservation of historic places and distinct community character. They allow property owners and municipalities to work together to reach shared goals and give property owners an active role and voice in the development of historic areas in their communities. Local historic districts are administered according to town regulations with open public processes. As you know, the town of Cumberland employs a full-time preservation planner to assist local historic district homeowners, and the town has a track record of 35 years of experience in administering local historic districts. As Jonathan mentioned, Cumberland's HTC is highly collaborative, and it has a 100% rate of approval of design review applications. In conclusion, I will summarize by saying that Arnold Mills is an important historic resource for the town of Cumberland, and we feel at the conclusion of our research that it is a worthy candidate for inclusion in the town's portfolio of successfully managed local historic districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warburton. Council, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Warburton? Any questions for Mr. Stevens? Thank you, Ms. Warburton. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr.
I am, if there's no other comments from the council, I'm going to turn it over to members of the public. Would anybody in the public here like to discuss this matter? Anyone joining us virtually? Okay. With no further questions or comments, I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:55 p.m. and I will take a motion for approval.
Mr. President, motion to approve 2313.
I got a motion by Council Schmidt. A second, was that Council Bolio? And we'll go to a roll call vote. Councilor Schmidt?
Yes.
Councilor Bolio?
Yes.
Councilor Mativia? Councilor Shaw? Yes. Councilor McGill? Yes. Councilor Bradley? Yes. The chair will also vote yes. The ordinance passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a resolution. First, it's new business, so we're going down to a resolution 2354. It's a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for a community development block grant not to exceed $1,033,500 for projects that benefit low to moderate income residents of the town of Cumberland. Ms. King.
Good evening, councilors. So I just want to give a little update on kind of where we are as a town with our CDBG program and what has led to kind of where we're at for our most recent filing for this year's application. But before I get into that, I first and foremost want to express some gratitude for everyone that's been involved in many of these projects. Long term, I want to thank the council for their support on the Emerald Building Initiative through the conditions assessment phase, our original CDBG application, the hiring of the architect in recent months. As you can see from our monthly report, the building committee has taken that support seriously, and we've been making a lot of progress with the schematic design phase, and are working with historic preservation to get approval on that, which kind of brings us to this next step. I also want to thank Glenn Modica from the planning department, who has really been steadfast in managing and administering our overall CDBG program, whether that was through the senior center, EMS received a CDBG grant, the bus shelter rehab. He really has done an excellent job, and I just want to give him a shout out for kind of his organizational prowess and administration of those grants. So before you have our resolution to file our annual grant application. There are 3 programs listed within this grant application. 2 are for the maximum amount of $500,000, which can be applied for. The first is for the Emerald Building, which is what we applied for last year. This is to complete the adaptive reuse of the building and bring it to life. We did have our first stakeholder meeting, which was really exciting to finally get some people in the building who would be utilizing this space as a community center. EMS was present, Blackstone Valley Community Action, Blackstone Valley Advocacy Center, the Health Equity Zone, our friends from Operation Stand Down, and our friends over at the Northern Rhode Island Food Pantry were all present, and it was really productive. So that's the first $500,000 portion of this grant application. There is additionally $500,000 that is being requested for Franklin Farm. I know that we have some representatives from Franklin Farm here who could speak more to any questions about their portion of the application. And then the remaining $33,500 is for Project Learn, which is a program that Community Care Alliance has administered for some time through the town of Cumberland that focuses on adult literacy and English language learning classes. Which has been very successful, and we're proud to continue that partnership with them. The last thing that I want to mention is just a reminder about what the CDBG program is intended to be used for and kind of what drives how we choose which projects to focus on for these applications. The CDBG program, which is Community Development Block Grant Program, is designed to promote the development of viable communities by providing decent housing, suitable living environments, and expanded economic opportunities for principally low to moderate income individuals. So any program that we apply for or seek to enhance through this program, that needs to be the guiding mission behind that. So that's kind of how the decision is made about what to file for. But the resolution that you have before you simply authorizes us to file an application. But that's basically all I've got. If anyone has any questions about the Emerald project, I'm happy to answer any questions about that portion of the application. And as I mentioned, we also have some of our friends from Franklin Farm here, so if there's a question about that portion.
Thank you very much, Ms. King. Council, does anybody have any question for Ms. King on any of these projects that are going to be covered under this grant? Ms. King, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Does anybody in the chamber would like to speak on any of this? Any of these projects? Is anyone joining us on Zoom? Good evening. Good evening. How are you? As always, state your name and address for the record. You have that down.
Pam Thurlow from representing Franklin Farm. I live on Thomas Slayton Boulevard. And I'm just here to speak in support of the $500,000 portion of the grant that Sarah talked about. It's important to understand that everything we do at the farm in terms of our food production and the feeding the people that we do sits in that barn. All our equipment is there, all our food's stored there, our boxing, all our shipping is done from there. And unfortunately, the barn is not in solid structural condition. The roof is collapsing because we have an asphalt roof that isn't properly braced, and it's being supported by, well, in some parts of the barn, as far back as 1810 timbers. And it's starting to sag, and we need to stabilize the structure of that barn so we can continue doing the work that we're doing. So that's how that grant relates to the structure of the barn. Any questions?
Any questions for Pam from Franklin Farm? Pam, thank you as always for the good work you do. Anyone else would like to address the council on any of the topics listed in this resolution? Okay. Hearing none, and if there's no further discussion from the council, I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Bolio. It is second by Councilor Shaw. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Let me just get back to the front here. Next item on the agenda is in Resolution 2355. It's a resolution authorizing and empowering Mayor Jeffrey J. Mutter to purchase 2 Vintrac tractors for the Cumberland Highway Department from Turf Products LLC in the amount not to exceed $120,226.96. Mr. Duat.
Good evening, councilors. As you recall, you have the American Rescue Plan Act, a plan that the council approved, and a big component of it was to purchase vehicles and equipment worth $800,000. And tonight, there's various pieces of equipment that will be, hopefully you can vote favorably for. And the first one to start out with is these 2 tractors. And my observation coming into town is that we have needs for some of our fleet, including tractors and so forth. With the acquisition of Mercy Woods and the need to cut that grass, maintain it, there's a practice field that the soccer association is going to be using soon. There was a need to get a tractor anyway, just for that purpose. So with this ARPA funding, this was a great opportunity to pick up a tractor, and the choice was, what was it that we're going to do? And the thing that's going on out there right now is availability. Supply chain is still in effect, issues with the supply chain, and one of the pieces of equipment that I had asked staff to go look at that would have a very large, wide cutting deck, we wouldn't be able to get that for 18 to 24 months. And the need is here. The need is September. The need in the Diamond Hill Park is here. These are real things that are happening, and we have to produce now. We can't wait 18, 24 months to get other pieces of equipment. So we decided, I had staff look into this. The highway superintendent, the foreman from Parks and Grounds, the recreation director also looked at these pieces of equipment, and we started looking at what are we going to do when we build the new Diamond Hill community facility, and we have the Mercy Woods. And so the combination of all of that going on, what's the best pieces of equipment to come together so we're going to create a crew that will work hopefully in that area. They will maintain the building, they will maintain those grounds. And so what's the best pieces of equipment that we can get? And when can we get it? What is the biggest bang for the buck that we're going to get? And what the group came together was these 2 tractors is what they came up with. They're available. We could get these within a couple of weeks, and we can put them to use already this year. So this is where we are with the equipment. It's a very versatile piece of equipment. We can adapt, get attachments, various attachments from snow blowers to other things that the field crew can use. And so what I'm looking at is, if we're not increasing staff, then we have to get tools that will help the few that we have and diversify their ability so we can get, again, the most benefit out of what we have. And so I think this was the piece of equipment that we were able to come up with at this point to give us the most benefit at this time. And so I would ask that you would vote favorably for the purchase of these tractors.
Director, what is the life expectancy on a tractor like that for a person?
We should be able to get about 10 years out of these tractors, depending on use, but we should be able to get at least a good 10 years out of them.
Thank you. Are there any questions from Mr. Duat on this resolution? Mr. Bradley?
Mr. Duat, we spoke before the meeting on this, and I told you I was not a big fan of these machines, and that I'd have trouble supporting them. And I know you have exhausted other avenues looking for them, or looking for a substitute, or another machine. Did we look at the holder machines that we have now?
Councilman, I can't tell you that if they did or not. I left that to staff, the three people I had mentioned, and I'm hoping they did their due diligence. I had recommended a Toro 16-foot, cutting deck with, a cab, isolated cab for all weather environment, but again, it's 24 months out. So again, in my position, I look at what we have for a fleet, I look at the needs, and how do I get the most benefit to our public? And so at the end of the day, when you shake everything out, all things being equal, this is what came out.
Because if I remember right with the holder, I just don't know if you checked into it or not, because I called you, it was after 5 o'clock, so it was a little late. But I think they might have done maybe almost a 12-foot mower off the front of that. And we already own 2 of those machines.
Yep, we're gonna take full use of what we have. We're gonna reconfigure how we're using the equipment, how we're using the crews.
Yep.
Because again, Mercy Woods has changed the way we do things. It's added fields. This isn't a small field that was added. It's a lot of grounds that need to be cut.
How long have we been cutting that? Just this year?
I believe this was the first year.
For the whole thing, or was I thought we were cutting up there for the last few.
I know the ball field, the practice field is going to be important this year, and I think that may be the first year. The whole entire grounds, I'm not sure if it's been done just this year, but it's a thing that's here and now, and I've been hearing it from the highway department that they're very concerned, what are we doing this year? Especially September with the soccer association.
I've got no doubt that you need the equipment.
Yep.
Mr. Duat, it's not the piece that if I was buying it to do the job, I would use.
Yep.
And I would have a tough time supporting it for that reason. No doubt that you need it.
Yep.
Or need the equipment going forward.
Could I ask Mr. Bradley, because being a little naive on that particular topic, the downfall of that equipment, they don't last, is it?
It's not the last, to me, it would be more the speed.
Oh, okay.
I mean, especially if it's mainly for cutting grass. I mean, I won't say not buy it, but for me, it would be a tough vote for me to approve.
There's also the attachment capability. It's
got
versatile.
multiple.
Yeah, and for hills, this has the capability to cut sidewards on steep hills, which I think is prudent.
And in all honesty, it popped up for me. I was looking at it at 5 o'clock tonight, so it's a little late to get involved on it.
Okay.
From my standpoint.
Thank you. Any other questions for the director? Ms. Folio?
Do we have the capability to transport them?
I believe we do, but the goal for these tractors is ultimately, when we have the Diamond Hill Park to the stage where I think the town wants to go, we want to utilize one of the facilities up there and probably house it there, the equipment, so that we probably can just drive over to Mercy Woods quickly enough and just move it between the 2 facilities.
And in the interim, we'll put it at the highway department?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
what-
the only place we have right now, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Any other questions?
I'll just do one other statement with talking to Mr. Duat before talking about storage. In the future, I'd like to start looking at enclosed trailers where they're not taking up facility space with the mowers.
Okay, thank you, Counsel. Anybody else? Okay, hearing no further discussion on Resolution 23-55, I will take a motion to approve. Councilor moved by Counselor Shaw. It is second by Counselor Mativia. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. So the resolution passes by a vote of 6-1 with Counselor Bradley in the negative. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2356. It's a resolution authorizing and empowering Mayor Jeffrey J. Mutta to enter an agreement with Hope Initiative on behalf of the town of Cumberland for opioid abatement services in the amount not to exceed $43,072 for a period of 3 years. Chief Benson.
Mr. President, members of the council, putting it bluntly, this community is not immune to the opioid crisis. And we're fortunate in the state to have a program like this and also the resources to fund it. So briefly, the HOPE initiative was launched in about 2018 as a result of the opioid settlement money. The state of Rhode Island received $140 million or so, where $28 million were allocated to cities and towns, Cumberland receiving $261,450.51. The rules and regulations on what you can spend that money on are very, 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 very restrictive, specific to opioid abatement as they should be, which essentially created the HOPE initiative. And essentially what that is it's a response mechanism where trained law enforcement officers partner up with a clinician, a member of mental health services, and they go out and after an opioid exposure, overdose, contact, they respond collectively and try to help that person access services, conduct follow-ups, provide resources. Officers would dress in we call it a soft uniform, but essentially a polo and khaki pants or BDUs or something like that, trying to present a bit more of a communal approach and trying to address that need. The best part about this program is that there is absolutely no budgetary impact to the town or to the police department in the sense that that $261,000 specifically has to be used for opioid abatement. We can't use it for anything else. It's extremely restrictive. So what this provides is it's a 5% essential match pay-in to the HOPE initiative, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. They provide access to our CAD and dispatch systems. So if we had an opioid exposure, they get an alert, they contact us, they set up some sort of response with our staff and that trained member. Any compensation is covered by these specific funds and also obviously the access with the clinician and the like. So it's a phenomenal program. I'm excited to get it going. We have several staff that have already been trained in the HOPE Initiative's program. So we're looking for favorable support to get this off the ground.
Thank you, Chief.
Sir.
Just reading some of it.
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions for the chief on this resolution? Hearing none, and there's no further discussion, I will take a motion to approve Resolution 2356. So moved by Councilor Mativia. It is second by Councilor McGill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
Going down, we have Resolution 2357. It's a resolution authorizing and empowering Mayor Jeffrey J. Mutta to purchase various vehicles for the Cumberland Highway Department from Liberty Chevrolet in the amount not to exceed $503,972.62. Mr. Duwop.
Once again, this is all part of the American Rescue Plan purchases of the equipment. With this request, I'll be looking for 4 pickup trucks, 2 heavy-duty in nature Chevy Silverado 5500 class, and then 2 3500 class. The larger truck, they all have dump bodies. That will also be used for sanding capabilities. They will have plows associated with the trucks already. And again, it's all part of rebuilding our fleet. As you know, couple years ago, we were renting vehicles for the winter. My hope is to replace those altogether, and this is the start of it. We'll be able to get 4 out of those 6. This is the last year for the rental, and hopefully next year we can revisit the remainder of the vehicles and start working on at least chipping away, getting a good fleet back to where we should be and productive, and this is all part of that.
Any questions for the director?
I have one, please. So you've got 3 resolutions tonight, assuming they all pass. Most of that 800,000 will be accounted for tonight, right?
Yes.
Will you have any left?
I think there will be some left, yes.
Okay, just a little bit?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for the director? Hearing none.
Yeah, I'll have a
Councilor
few.
Browley, I'm sorry.
Me and Mr. Duat once again talked before the meeting, uncovering this and the turnaround time on these, Mr. Duat.
So this is for manufacturing of September. Hopefully, we will have them rolling into the yard January, end of year, January. So we're hoping we still can capture the snow season.
Or part of it anyways, depending.
Yeah, I mean, usually snow is January, February, so we're hoping just in time.
Hopefully. And other than that, it's the same supply line problems trying to get them.
Yes, yeah, you can't even get one of these off the lot right now. You got to wait for manufacturing of them.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Any other questions for the director on Resolution 2357? Hearing no further discussion, I will take a motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome to the Cumberland Town Council. Please state your name and address for the record.
Ted Vecchio, 584 Bound Road, Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Welcome, Mr.
I was just,
Vecchio.
thank you. I was just wondering, are these all gas powered or are they diesel?
The smaller ones are gas powered, and I believe the diesel is the larger vehicles.
And was that the only option, the diesel in that larger vehicle?
I don't know that for a fact, sir.
Okay, I would just, it's obviously a little too late for this now, but as I've stated in the past, I would strongly recommend staying away from diesels. So that's all I have to say.
I tend to agree with Mr. Vecchio, as one of mine are over at the dealer now being worked on.
As long as I've been doing this business, I've worked in 3 communities. And, one community is all Ford, diesel. Another community is all Chevys, gas. To me, it's tomato, tomato. It's a vehicle that's going to give us 10 years of life, good work. They both work well. I'm very comfortable with both. I know Mr. Vecchio, he's an expert on vehicles. That's what I believe he does for a living. I wouldn't question much, I think he's speaking with authority, but I can tell you that, I've had success with all of it. So.
I'll say this, when the gas option's there, I think it's a better option. I know on 2 of these trucks it's an option, but it's not on the other 2.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vecchio. Is there any further comment? Hearing none on Resolution 23-57, I will take a motion to approve. So moved by Councilor Shaw, second by Councilor Mativia. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you, Director. Stay right there. Resolution 2358. It's a resolution authorizing and empowering Mayor Jeffrey J. Mutter to purchase 2 2023 Chevy Blazers INR 26 all-wheel drive LTS from Liberty Chevrolet in the amount not to exceed $77,790. Director Duat.
So this is mainly for staff vehicles of the DPW department, engineering, building department. There is a need. Some of our vehicles that our building officials had and inspectors have gone over to the highway department because they were lacking vehicles themselves. So we're just trying to catch up on things. So this was a great opportunity with ARPA funding. This is a great opportunity to start bringing in rebuilding the fleet. One of the concerns that staff has expressed to me, the engineering staff, is, you know, during inspections of subdivisions and the condition that you find the roadway or the dirtway. Initially, it's been problematic with lesser vehicles like a sedan to be driving on in those conditions. So this will give us versatility, and with my experience also with vehicles, these four-wheel drive vehicles, in the past in other communities I worked, the police have used them during blizzard conditions where maybe they didn't have the adequate vehicles at the time, and say that they used some of our engineering fleet. And so this will have that kind of diversity too if the need arises.
Thank you, Director. Any questions on this particular resolution? Councilor Bradley.
The conversation me and Mr. Duarte had before the meeting on needs is I would still like to see a better program going forward. I don't think, or I think we should be looking at 3/4 ton trucks with a plow should be our first priority on almost anything we buy. And because you can cycle them back and forth and around, they can serve all purposes. And
It's the cost, as we have spoken. It's the
It's
cost
cost.
of that versus something much cheaper.
But to step back in time before you were here, Mr. Duarte, we leased 6 plow trucks. Prior to that, when we bought vehicles at the water department, I brought the same thing up. Had we bought plow vehicles or trucks instead of cars or half-ton trucks, it would have maybe eliminated or cut down that need for rental trucks that we're facing now. So that's why I think going forward, it's a better idea to be looking at heavy-duty trucks with plows, unless there's a reason not to get it. I mean, if they stay in town, it's not going to be a fuel issue.
Certainly, I will take a look at that, of course.
Thank you, Councilor. If there is no further comment, I will take a motion to approve this resolution. Motion by
Second.
Councilor Shaw. It is second by Councilor Bolio. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-0. Next item, Mr. Duarte, is Resolution 2359. It's a resolution authorizing and empowering Mayor Jeffrey J. Mutter to purchase one tow and collect 1220S for the Cumberland Highway Department from tow and collect in the amount of not to exceed $7,188.70. Mr. Duarte.
So this is one of those unique pieces of equipment that most highway departments or DPW facilities will acquire. And this one in particular, it's basically to scoop goose droppings from our ball fields. It's a thing. It's a real thing. It's a concern that our Recreation Commission has brought up numerous times to our Parks and Recreation Director. And we have this opportunity now with ARPA funding to do such, and this is the opportunity to do that. It's a tow-behind piece of equipment that can attach to just about all the tractors that we have, and we'll be using it for all the fields, and especially some of the more problematic fields that, you know, they voice concern with sanitary conditions of the droppings and the kids having to play with the ball on these ball fields. So this is one of those unique pieces of equipment that will, I think, address some of the concerns that's been voiced for many years now.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. Councilor Shaw.
Yeah, Mr. President, yeah, I'd just like to kind of echo Mr. Duarte's sentiment about this piece of equipment through the discussions that we had at the Parks and Rec Commission. I mean, months and months. And when you look at the cost of this piece of equipment versus what the cost that we were spending on trying to remove the geese or deter the geese, there were weeks that we would spend thousands of dollars having some guy go out with a dog or apparatuses just for one field. And it came down to the discussion was that, well, it's going to be there. We can keep dumping money into it. The geese are never going to go away because that water, that's right there. So this piece, even though it's $7,000, this piece will be put to use, and we're probably going to be replacing it because of overuse years in a few years, I'm sure. So I am all for this. Just for hearing if you had to be there for the discussions, the amount of discussion that this one problem presented at the Parks and Rec meeting has been crazy. So I'm glad we found a piece of equipment that can do the job.
Thank you. And I can definitely verify Councilor Shaw's description of those meetings where this is a big issue, so thanks for getting that. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the resolution, I'll take a motion to approve. Motion by Councilor Shaw, second by Councilor Materia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-2. Thank you, Director. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2360. It's a resolution authorizing a change order to Bulldog Fire Apparatus for a chassis substitution on the ambulance for Cumberland EMS in the amount not to exceed $8,500. Chief.
Thank you. Just to echo what Mr. Duarte was saying, the post-pandemic supply chain issues are real. The Dodge chassis that was originally spec'd into our new ambulance back in February of 2022, they have not been able to get them. And the manufacturer, Demers, who will send to Bulldog for the final completion, don't expect to get any for 12 to 24 months. So this change just allows us to switch to a Ford chassis, similar model, and will basically allow us to get the truck sooner.
Thank you, Chief.
It's already been delayed enough due to that.
Any questions for the chief on this particular resolution? Councilor Shaw.
So for $8,500, is this just the difference that we're making up?
Correct.
Okay, all right, because I saw chassis and $8,500, and I was like,
They're probably very similar to begin with, but due to the year and a half, the cost has probably increased.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief on this?
With the switch, how soon do you expect to get this one?
By December, hopefully. So we're already behind the 8 ball with both trucks currently. One truck has probably around 130,000 miles. The other one has 150. So I've been in discussions with the mayor about moving forward with another truck. So, because it's going to be needed. As soon as we get this truck, we're going to need to, look for another one, because the supply chain is just, and we're probably going to have to buy a demo from one of the manufacturers, because when they get them, people are just scooping them up. Special orders are what take the longest.
And is that, you want to keep all the bodies the same, correct?
I don't care. I just need, our maintenance department here within town has been treated us well the last few years, so they do a good job. I think just keeping up on maintenance and replacing the trucks on a regular basis as needed is what's best.
Yeah, it's another push we've been having to try to do one every 2 years, maybe.
Yeah, I'd like to get on that schedule. The problem is last 2 trucks were bought at the same time.
Which is what we always do.
Now we're, right.
10 years later, it's still the same.
This might give us some space.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, I will take a motion to approve this resolution. So moved by Councilor Materia. We got a second by Councilor Shaw. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-0. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 23-61. It's Resolution directing the Director of the Department of Public Works to request a traffic study and a signalization on Diamond Hill Road by the monasteries, presented by the Council President Kinch. I will explain the explanation of this, and I think it's a result of the success of our playground. I was approached by a resident in that area, just who is now bringing grandchildren to that park, who lives on Diamond Hill Road or that vicinity, and just asked if we could have a crosswalk there with some type of signalization. So if it is good with you, Director, and if it proves, could we send that over to the State Traffic Commission to have them do their due diligence in their traffic study on that? Again, if it's approved.
Would that be the state to do the study, or to have us do the study and pass the information on?
Well, I usually thought that what I've come across in the Traffic Commission is we send the resolution right to there. But if that's a better step, being a local, that we might be able to describe it better to the state, because if I do believe, because of the bend there, there was one that was denied there previously because of that turn, and I just don't know. So is that something that we could do before a traffic?
I will pass that on to him, yeah.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Again, that's if the council approves it.
One more question for Mr. Duarte. I noticed, and just an observation on my point, when you turn when you're pulling out of the monastery, if you look left, the only thing you see is a tree. So we take a look at that for a line of sight.
Yep, I will.
Thank you. Is there any questions for anyone for me on this particular question?
Yeah, when you say signalization, when I first read that, I thought light.
Yeah.
But as you explain it, you're asking for a crosswalk with some sort of...
Right. The best way to describe it when I talked to the solicitor is what we did at Davenport's and what's coming to St. Joseph's Church. If that's what the Traffic Commission thinks will work there, maybe they might come back and say it's just a crosswalk. So.
All right, so this is a state road.
Yes.
So I'm not clear on the procedure when a town wants to make an improvement to a state road.
We usually just ask the State Traffic Commission, and the State Traffic Commission brings it in front of the commission. They recommend a study, they vote for the study, do it, then bring it back and report, and then seek approval for the State Traffic Commission, and they come back and do it.
Okay, so if they say, yes, it's okay to put a crosswalk and the light, not the traffic light,
Yeah.
but the, whatever it is there, is there a cost to the town on that?
Not that I've witnessed myself there, no.
Okay,
But
so
I can find that out if we,
just to be clear, we're not asking for a traffic light.
no, definitely not a traffic light. It would be not a good thing. Just a crosswalk, a flashing light.
Okay, and you mentioned that this had been denied at one point in the past?
From what I understand, it was denied. I don't know how long ago when I asked about it, and the Traffic Commission stated that I think they had one up there, but they would research that for us.
Okay.
And I think because it was asked farther down, and I also want to make it in conjunction with, I think the chief's asking for one at Town Hall, and at the police station, so I just want to make sure they look at it and see if it's doable. At the time, as we all know, the playground wasn't as nice and updated and as it is now, so I think it's getting, from what I've seen when I'm in there, it's getting, seems to be getting a lot of work.
What did you just say about the chief is asking for one what?
Oh, at Town Hall, I keep saying Town Hall, at the police department. They're asking for one at the old police station. I saw that come through there. Yeah,
So would there be another resolution for that, or?
It's already been requested. I saw it in front of the State Traffic Commission.
Yeah. So what we're finding is the parking is not adequate for the volume of both VIN checks that we're doing and the opportunity to leverage the community room to conduct trainings where we're not paying for seats. We can host the training. We just need the ability for attendees to be able to park. So the parking out front is not adequate enough to handle both VIN volume by itself, and then you add the other layer. So what we've been having them do is park across the street at the old police station, but that's at the apex of a bit of a curve. So with that, and then the construction at the school, a lot of kids have been coming over, and mom and dad have been picking them up for whether it's practice or that sort of thing in our lobby or in the front of the station. So it seems like a good junction point to have some sort of a crosswalk signal there. So similar to Davenport's.
And what have you done?
So we requested through the traffic commission for them to look at it as an option, as a possibility.
So we're doing this on the town's behalf, this
Yes,
same
we're
exact...
doing it with a town council approval.
So the end result, if it goes the way that you think it would be a crosswalk with the blinking light to notify
Yes.
traffic that there is a crosswalk.
Right,
They have an obligation to stop.
slow it down while they cross, yes.
Okay, all right.
Councilor Shaw?
Follow-up question on that?
Yeah.
So it's a study that we're going to have done, Mr. Duarte, right, for the potential for this apparatus to be put up. It doesn't necessarily, we're not saying that we want it right here, yes or no. They'll do the study and make recommendations, so it doesn't have to be, if they're, it's got to be X amount of feet from the bend or whatever like that. It might be further down past the swamp, whatever. They'll come to us with ideas.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Right. Typically, these things can be as short as, months to sometimes 10 years to see a final product, depending on the complexity and cost. This one shouldn't be that bad.
Sure.
See, the only thing I would see that would be of concern to them would be sidewalks, if they had to put something, if you had to take the crosswalk further away from the entry to the monastery. Would there be a need for sidewalks? They would look at things like that, but the bend on the road is always an issue.
Right.
Anytime you put up crosswalks, anything that would not give you a clear sight would be of concern, especially on a road that would have speeds. I believe the speed limit may be 35, 45 miles per hour, 35 probably on that road. So it could be quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be any cost to the town unless the state, came back and said, well, we don't have the funds right now, but if the town wants to do it, right? I've run into that, but I don't think something like this would result in the town having to pay anything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of me or any questions on this? Hearing none, I will ask for approval or a motion to approve on 2361.
So moved.
I got a motion by Councilor Shaw. It is second by Councilor Bolio. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes 7-0. Thank you, councilors. Next item on the agenda is claims. The first one, we have a claim for Amanda Allard. I'm going to refer that to the Finance Subcommittee. We have a claim from David and Cassandra Osgood. I'm going to refer that to the Solicitor's Office. We have a claim from Deborah Champagne. I'm going to refer that to the Finance Subcommittee. And we have a claim from Richard Popriant, and we're going to refer that to the the Finance Committee as well. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance for presentation and permission to advertise. We have ordinance 2319. It's an ordinance amending the town of Cumberland water rates presented by the council president on behalf of the administration. I'm going to refer that to the Finance Subcommittee. For presentation, we have ordinance 2320, an ordinance amending the code of ordinance regarding notice of vacancies on the board and commissions presented by the council president on behalf of the administration. I'm going to refer that to the Ordinance Subcommittee. Next item on the agenda for presentation is ordinance 23-21. It's an ordinance relating to parking of commercial vehicles and RVs, motorhomes, and campers presented by the council president. We're going to refer that to the Ordinance Subcommittee. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Is anyone in the chamber and/or virtually would like to address the town council? Chief Benson.
If I may, just briefly, just wanted to recognize Mr. Duarte and his staff for getting that 1931 Roadster street-worthy for the 4th of July parade. It was very well received, and I know they worked very diligently on that, and I know we appreciated it, but I think the community appreciated it even more. A a lot of young kids taking pictures with it, and great community relations opportunity for the police department. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And please share that with the staff.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Is there a little story around that? Because I
it's a big
just
story.
saw it,
Yeah.
you know, in the parade, and that was,
So that was acquired under an asset forfeiture, I believe, upwards of 17, 18 years ago. It had been stored, actually it was at the police station, the old police station, I'm told, for a time. And there was an intent to use it as like a dare car. If you look inside of it, that is so not a good idea, because it's something that should be reserved for a very special function, but not something where you're driving to and from a lot. It's a hot rod, so things were modified in there. There's no true seat to it. We've actually used some foam padding, just to make it halfway comfortable. But yeah, it was in storage for a very, very long time. A gentleman came forward and brought it to our attention. It is a police vehicle. It has a police plate. A gumball was installed on top. That's a rotary light, for those who don't know what a gumball is. So aside from that, I'm going to use the term police vehicle very loosely, but technically it would qualify. It will not be used as that. But like I said, I think for public relations, we'll have it at the Touch a Truck event. We'll have it at obviously the parade functions. Anything to draw attention to us in a positive light, I think is a good thing. And like I said, we've been insuring it for a very long time, so it was a great opportunity for us.
was it a police vehicle? Or were we rebranded it as one?
We rebranded it, yeah. So it came to us with a black and white color pattern, and we had it lettered. I had an old picture from a police car from the 50s that we tried to replicate that look, even though it's not really accurate. It was a 1931, but
Understood. Thanks very much.
absolutely.
Council President, you should know more on that story, correct? You were there?
I could probably tell you a little bit about it, Counselor. Go ahead.
As someone who appreciates the social media of the police department a lot more these past couple of years than in years prior, was there a picture post of this? Because I was away and I didn't see it, and
No. So
okay, good.
yeah,
At least I didn't miss it, but why wasn't one posted, I
So
guess?
we rolled it out just specifically for the parade. We literally had the lettering done the week of. It just came through by the way that everything parts needed to be ordered and all that good stuff. So we didn't have a chance to, but then so many people shared their pictures and kind of tagged us. We didn't see the need to add to it, but I'm sure at, like I said, the Touch a Truck event, they'll be posted.
Cool. Looking forward to seeing it.
For sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's good. When I saw it, Chief, July 4th, it didn't look like the same truck, so
Yeah.
kudos to what I remember seeing 10 years ago.
Yeah, they did an outstanding job. Yeah.
Thanks again.
Oh, no,
Okay.
it was,
Counselor Bradley, did you want to?
just we was asking about the car, but that was taken in a drug raid, I believe.
Yes, it was. It was a forfeiture. Last item on the agenda is adjournment. I will take a motion to adjourn. I got a motion by Counselor Shaw, second by Counselor McGill. All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned at 9:44 p.m.